What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Basics Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Brinson. I'm your host. It is actually Friday, June the 3rd. If you're listening, excuse me, or maybe even watching too. Anyway, it's Friday, June the 3rd. If you listen on Thursday's podcast and I said Friday, what are you gonna do? Enjoy your extra weekend, your extra, day of the week or something. Anyway, we're gonna break down NFC West win totals. Joining me to do it, Jordan Dajani. What's up, buddy?
Brinson, what's going on, man? How you doing? How was your Memorial Day weekend?
It was good. It was awesome.
Very good.
Just kind of hung out, got to see my brother, kicked it around, did the pool stuff, standard middle-aged father, dad type stuff.
Sounds great.
It's just go to the pool, drink a couple White Claws, come home. Tomorrow. How was yours? I should ask.
It was great, man. Yeah, I didn't realize Nashville had such a cool lake scene. So I hit the lake for a couple days there and felt like I was back in Raleigh out on Jordan Lake. It was awesome.
Yeah, I didn't realize Nashville had a good lake scene either, but that makes sense, though.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, the body of water is not like as big, as like long as like Jordan Lake or something else is, but there's a lot of it, and the scene was very cool. So
what lake was it?
I didn't even have to look it up.
I Googled Nashville lakes. It's like 7 nearby lakes in Nashville. Wow.
Well, I think it was Old Hickory Lake. I'm in Hendersonville, a little north of Nashville, so I think it was Old Hickory Lake.
And it looks pretty awesome.
Wines all around. It was a lot of fun.
I love a good lake weekend.
Same.
Yeah, I could use more of a lake weekend myself. But enough of that. We got to go west. And we start with the Rams, a win total. Over under 10.5, the over minus 120. They went 12-5 last year. Of course, won the Super Bowl. They lost a lot, this offseason. That happens when you win the Super Bowl. Sometimes that attrition is just naturally built in. Von Miller signed with the Bills in free agency is kind of a shocker. Robert Woods was traded to Tennessee. Sony Michel departed for the Dolphins. Andrew Whitworth, this is probably the biggest one, retired, and that's got to be a concern. They also lost Austin Corbett on the offensive line. And they signed Allen Robinson and Bobby Wagner to two big ticket free agent guys that they picked up. 10.5 wins. Over under, Jordan. What do you think?
Well, it's kind of interesting because last year this was the exact line as well, 10.5 wins, except it was plus money on the over. I urged you guys on CBSSports.com to take that. Of course, it came through. In fact, on February 8th last year, I urged you to take the Rams to win the Super Bowl at plus 1,300, and that cashed as well. I think it's pretty interesting that line is kind of the same, except the juice has flipped. I think it's at minus 125 now over at Caesars Sportsbook. But I will say this. You mentioned that the Rams maybe got a little bit worse. Maybe they fell off just a little bit in the division. Well, at the same time, I think you could make the argument that the other teams in the NFC West maybe took somewhat of a step backwards as well, talking about Russell Wilson leaving. We don't know how good the Cardinals are going to be. Trey Lance is a question mark at quarterback for the 49ers. So, yeah, I'm taking the over when it comes to this win total.
I couldn't possibly take the under, man. I mean, you start with the Bills. You got the Cowboys in the front of the schedule, but Bills at home, Falcons at home, at the Cardinals, at the Niners, Cowboys at home, Panthers at home. Like, they're probably worst case 4-2.
I was even going to say, 5-1.
I would pick 5-1 if I were doing it. I'm just like, to be conservative, let's say 4-2.
Sure.
Let's say they lose to the Bills and the 49ers, but and they could easily beat the Bills, of course. The 49ers after the bye at home, at Tampa, Arizona at home, at New Orleans, at KC, but they also get the Seahawks and the Raiders at home before they go to Green Bay, Broncos, at Chargers, at Seahawks. It is not an easy schedule per se, but this is going to be a good football team again. And I think one of the things that people forget about the Rams is it's Matthew Stafford's second year with Sean McVay. Like, he should take not like a huge step forward, but I would expect him to cut down a little bit on the interceptions and maybe be a little bit more efficient in terms of his accuracy and how he operates the offense. And I think he has huge numbers. And I think the Rams are still one of the best teams in football, as I said. And there's no way I'm getting in front of that. Like, they should win 2 against Seattle. You got the Raiders. We mentioned they're probably 5-1 or 4-2 to start. So, like, you really have to get like 2 of the coin flip games going your way, and you're already at 10 right there. So I will definitely take the over for the Rams.
Yeah, and you mentioned it's a tough schedule. According to the combined opponents win total from last year, it is the toughest schedule in the NFL. But here's another thing to keep in mind. I mean, I get the Rams don't have the number one home field advantage in the league, but they virtually get 10 home games in 2022 after having just 8 last year in the regular season. The other thing that really kind of stuck out to me about this schedule is they get the 49ers twice in the first 8 weeks. I would rather catch that 49ers team early in the year as opposed to late. I think that's going to be very important as well. The Cardinals in week 3, that's a great time to get them. They're not going to have DeAndre Hopkins as well. That's why we counted that as a win. So, I think that the Rams get off to a really hot start. But as you mentioned, it definitely gets trickier down the stretch. But still, if we're talking about the over-under win total, I don't think they get to what were they 12-5 last year or so. I think that 11, maybe 11-6. That would obviously hit the over. I think that's my official projection. Would maybe be around 11-6.
I think 10 wins is their floor. Like just how good the team is going to be, how well coached they are, the consistency they have coming back. I have concerns about the offensive line for sure, but I think the Rams will figure out a way to fix those to alleviate those concerns, and they go over this total. The 49ers. The market is like crazy high on San Francisco. And, you'd think with Jimmy G being a question mark and, they didn't really lose a ton of guys or really add a ton of guys. I mean, Laken Thomas and DJ Jones and Raheem Mostert are definitely like big losses. But, it's not like an exodus or anything like that. Maybe you saw more with the Rams. I'm just surprised that they're at 10. Like, we don't know if Jimmy G is going to be on the roster. And while Trey Lance has a ton of upside, that's 10 wins is a lot.
Yeah, it is. And, I'm with you. It's surprising that the market's very high on San Francisco, but I will say, I can try to be logical about it. If Trey Lance is just a little bit of an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo, then this team, could be a legitimate Super Bowl contender. What is it? I think they have like the 6th shortest odds to win the Super Bowl or something ridiculous. And in fact, in a piece that I wrote,
crazy low.
Yeah, it's crazy. And in fact, that was actually my value pick in an article I wrote like 2 months ago at most, was the 49ers might be a good value Super Bowl team, even though it's 6th shortest, which sounds absolutely ridiculous. I mean, when it comes to the schedule, like let's just look at the beginning of it. Those first 8 games before the bye week, it's kind of funny because I think they could go 2 wins to start, 2 losses to follow those 2 wins, another 2 wins, and then 2 losses to go into the bye week for a grand total of 4-4. I think that's kind of interesting. How about you?
Yeah, so I got them. I would have them beating, obviously, the Bears on the road to start the season. Winning against Seattle. I think they probably lose at Denver. And so if I got 2-2, 4-2, I'm going to give them a split with the Rams just because – how Kyle Shanahan has coached against the Rams in his career, and if Trey Lance is good. So I will say, let's see, 1, 2. I mean, they probably have 5 wins going into the weekend. We're going to week 9. Like, I mean, like if I go 5-3 there, I probably need to go. Like you're right. Like it's tough to get under if you go 5 wins out of the gate like that. I wish this number was like 8.5 or 9. So I actually could take the over because I do like the 49ers, of course. They beat the Chargers at home, probably split with the Cardinals. I think they could certainly beat the Seahawks on the road and the Raiders on the road. So, yeah, I mean, it's a team that's probably going to be right around 10 wins. It really is like entirely based on how, like, is Trey Lance going to be awesome or is Trey Lance just – still developing and like, is Jimmy G coming back? You know what I mean? Like that to me is like the big question mark here. So if I'm buying the Niners, like and actually going to bet a win total for them, I want it to be a better value. Like people are like more surprised by how Trey Lance comes out and performs.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And, I think that I'm going to stick with my 4-4 heading into the bye. And my official prediction is that maybe San Francisco somewhat stumbles out of the gate as Trey Lance tries to adjust.
Too, by the way.
Exactly. It's exactly like last year. And it's interesting because after that week 9 bye, they have what? Is it 5 straight home games? Is that correct?
Yeah.
No.
They're the 4 of 5 are at home. Chargers at Cardinals, Saints, Dolphins, Buccaneers at home. Like that, yeah, I mean, like they could certainly beat the Buccaneers at home. Like that wouldn't be out of the question at all. Like, I mean, we all think Tampa's going to be good, but like, the Niners winning just wouldn't be like that crazy.
I'm looking at another website from a different company that's a lesser one than CBS Sports, which is giving me false information. So that's why I said that. No, but still, they get what, four out of 5 home games coming out of the bye, which I think is going to be important. The way that I see it, the 49ers, just like last year, could really experience, a boost in their overall play coming out of the bye towards the second half of the regular season. That gives them a spot in the postseason, not winning the division. I'm gonna reserve that for the Rams, but as a wild card. That's kind of my prediction that Trey Lance, he starts to flourish down the stretch of the regular season.
I don't think that's crazy at all. Like if he picks that offense and really starts to get it going down the stretch, then this team will be extremely dangerous and can hang some big scores on these defenses down the. Yeah, I mean, look again, it is all about Trey Lance. You're making a projection on how you think he will perform, and it is possible too. Like if he plays really well in the offseason, it looks great in training camp, et cetera, that this number ticks up a little bit. So on the other hand, if he looks terrible, it could tick down a little bit too.
Exactly.
Let's take a break, and when we come back, we will talk about the Seahawks and Cardinals next.
I'm not comfortable living in a hot dog. It's still way better than your house, kitty. I can't do this anymore, Mom. If you won't listen to me, then I really don't have a choice.
So you're running away?
South Park, The Streaming Wars, now streaming.
Okay, well, I'll see ya.
Bye, honey.
Cute.
Exclusively on Paramount Plus.
So I say this every time. I'm going to stop talking about the commercials we show on our YouTube show. But like I was explaining to Breach, it's crazy that we're technically coworkers with the South Park people. There's an ad for the South Park Streaming Wars, which you can now stream on Paramount Plus, and from our colleagues Matt Stone and Trey Parker. I always
exactly.
Like
if I ever met them, I would tell them I'm coworkers too. I'm a big South Park fan, so definitely gonna be watching that.
Yes, South Park's the funniest television show of all time. I mean, it's amazing. If we could get those guys on this podcast to talk Broncos, that would be. You have to try. It'll never happen, but I'll talk about it a lot. Well, it might not even try, but I'll talk about it a lot. Anyway, go sign up for Paramount Plus. You get some kind of promo, I'm sure. The Arizona Cardinals went 11-6 last year. They have a win total of 9. The under is -130. Of course, DeAndre Hopkins will be suspended for the first 6 games of the season, I believe. Marquise Brown was acquired in a trade on draft night. They also landed, Will Hernandez in a free agency. They lost Chandler Jones and Christian Kirk, 2 big losses, as well as Chase Edmonds. Kyler Murray is still unsigned. They haven't worked out a new contract. It sounds like they'll get it done this offseason. I don't think he'll skip any games if he didn't get the contract. Like, it would be a really bad look. But I do wonder how not having the contract might impact his availability at training camp while he's trying to work with new receivers, although he played in college with Marquise Brown. So, that should be that tough. And I just wonder how it might impact the offense. This team just feels like it's not going to come out of the gates hot like last year and be 8-0. I don't think. What do you think about the Cardinals win total?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that a lot of people are leaning under on this. I think it's a lot of the same people that were leaning under on them last year that were absolutely wrong. That being said, I'm not very bullish on the Cardinals over. I think overall I'm leaning towards the under, and we can get into exactly why. But a big reason is also because how they start the year. And you brought up the whole Kyler Murray drama. Is he going to react and come out, guns firing like an MVP candidate, or is he going to come out, the slowest he has during his entire career? Then you throw in the added element that he's not going to have DeAndre Hopkins. Look at those first 6 games. I mean, what's your record projection in those first 6 weeks?
I would have him losing the Chiefs, win at the Raiders, but I don't think that's a free win. I mean, Las Vegas could definitely win that game. Lose to the Rams, probably win at the Panthers. So that's starting 1. I guess I'm getting 2-2. They're going to lose to my Eagles, of course. So 2-3, and then I'll say 3-3, but I think it's possible it could be 2-4.
That's exactly what I think as well. I think 3-3 is where I'm leaning, but I think it's very possible they go 2-4, depending on if Philly, is as good as advertised heading into this regular season.
Yeah, I mean, and look, like Kyler Murray, also the thing, like the Cliff Kingsbury doesn't win late in the year is a real thing. Like, it's been happening dating back to like Texas Tech. So it's kind of tough to imagine it suddenly just stopping, ceasing to exist. Like it's no longer a thing because, like what will have changed? So like Cliff gets an extension and now he like figures out how not to lose games at the end of the year. So like unless they start out 8-0, I think these are definitely there's just tough stretches for the Cardinals, and I just have a hard time believing. I just wouldn't want to take the over knowing Hopkins isn't coming back. Like I think Hollywood Brown's awesome. Like he's a fun player to watch, but he's like, he's like he's not going to come in and be like a true number one. I don't think like the Ravens are trading him. If he's not if he's a true number one. I mean, like he's trying to blame the freaking offense on Lamar and them not want to throw down the field. It's like, bro, like just be a better receiver in the passing game.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely suffered through some drops through the early stages of career, no doubt about that. But I mean, that being said, I love Hollywood. In fact, if you're in like a fantasy dynasty league, I would think about trading for him if you could. But still, he's not a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, as you mentioned. He's not exactly going to keep the offense afloat just by himself. I think that he could have a really good year, but he won't be enough. And again, if Arizona's not going to get off to a hot start, then they are going to hit the under on this win total. So, entering week 7, once they get DeAndre back, it's at home versus the Saints. I really love the Saints this year, but I am going to give Arizona a win there. I think that at Minnesota, that's a tough game. I think Minnesota could be another team that's better than anticipated, better than
I think it would be shocking if Minnesota wouldn't favor that game.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. And then Seattle, then it gets really tough. That those weeks 10 through 12, that literally could decide everything. Not just the Cardinal season, but if your bet's going to hit, whether you bet the over or under on this. That's a tough stretch. At the Rams versus the 49ers. In week 11, I don't want to catch the 49ers. They might be an okay team there. And then versus the Chargers at home. We've talked about it on your podcast before. I'm kind of a believer in the Chargers here. So it's really going to be interesting to see what the Cardinals' record will be once they get to that week 13 bye. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I would think, let's see, if I had them at, 3-3, I think they'll beat the Saints at home. So 4-4, I'll probably sweep Seattle, but maybe that's not a guarantee. So we'll say 5-5, and then I'll split 49ers and Chargers. So I got 6-6 at week, going into week 12. So it's like you could be a playoff team, but you probably have to win 4 of your final 5 games. Maybe you can get away with it with 3 and be 9-8. We'll see with the NFC. I don't think that's out of the question, but like it just means you've got to win 3 of New England, at Denver, home against Tampa Bay, at Atlanta, and at San Francisco. If they're only 6-6 going in that bye, so that I would definitely lean under as well because you got to win 3 of 5 to get to that win total. So yeah, under for me for the Cardinals for sure. Finally, the Seattle Seahawks. Everyone knows they traded Russell Wilson after the worst season of his career in Seattle. They went 7-10 last year. They also released Bobby Wagner. They released Carlos Dunlap. So Gerald Everett bounced. DJ Reed left. Carlos Dunlap was released. Like, they have lost a ton this offseason. And they brought in Drew Lock, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris in that trade with the Broncos. Marquise Goodwin is like a notable free agent, which I think is a problem for Seattle. They just couldn't really do a whole lot. And then, in the draft, of course, they get Charles Cross and Kenneth Walker. But, man, and their win total is 6. Dajani, it is really difficult to find a reason to like the Seahawks.
Nope. In fact, I actually published on CBSSports.com earlier this week. The under is a best bet for me entering the 2022 season. I think best case scenario, they go 5-12. With that being said, I don't know how you're feeling about this quarterback situation. I don't think this is final, right? Pete Carroll can act all he wants, that he's confident in the guys he currently has.
Same thing about Russell Wilson too.
Yeah. You can never believe what he's saying. Any of these coaches, just in general. I think it's very possible that Baker Mayfield could be playing football in Seattle this year. I don't know how much he really improves this roster, as you mentioned. Charles Cross is obviously a welcomed addition on the left side of the line. But at the same time, I think this offense is going to be really relying on the run game with Rashad Penny, Kenneth Walker, Chris Carson, I mean, they got a ton of guys, DJ Dallas, Travis Homer, but we still have questions on the defensive side of the ball. I like some of the additions they made, but at the same time, I don't think anyone's expecting this will be a top 10, top 15 defense in the league. Looking at the roster, the one thing I want to bring up as well is that, we talked about on an earlier podcast that the AFC West may be the best division in the NFL. I wonder what this line would be if Seattle was not playing the AFC West. But because they are, and our over-under is currently sitting at 6, I'm going to take the under, and I think this is a good bet to make.
Yeah, I mean, look, like, I think it's pretty obvious. All right, I've been saying all, like, for the past few weeks and really all off season, like, people people be like, what do you think? What's, like, Seattle's plan? It's like, I don't know. Like, I have no idea what they think they're doing, like trading Russell Wilson and rolling with Drew Lock. Look, I mean, like, it's hard, but I think I figured it out. They just want to be. They think they're going to be like the 2012 or 2011, 2010 Seahawks, like trying to find a Russell Wilson to plug in, but just, work, like rolling with Tavares Jackson and, Matt Hasselbeck in the final year of his career, just, just trying to patch things together, like Scotch tape, a quarterback situation, run the ball a ton and try to play good defense and be like this team that, like, for instance, Denver, they want the final score to be like 15-12.
Yeah,
like, they don't want to get involved in any shootouts. I think they're just going to be a team that tries to grind you out, and I don't think it's going to work with the personnel they have. Like, it's just too hard for me to believe. Like, I trust in Pete Carroll. I think he's a good head coach. Yeah, I definitely agree that he could be taking a more modern approach to offense lots of times, and that's probably been a bit of his downfall in terms of allowing this team to Russell Wilson getting traded, right? I think you got to take the under here. Like, I don't see how you can bank on Seattle getting to 7 wins, knowing they're playing the AFC West and they've got a very formidable conference where they don't have Russell Wilson there to balance it out at all anymore.
No, and I want to say that I think you made a really good observation. I think that Seattle wants to be a TOP squad, right? Time of possession, dominate that, and then you can think that you can find a way to win. The thing is, and I want to say too, I have an eye on these running backs when it comes to fantasy. I think it's going to be interesting to see what the rotation is going to be and see which one kind of shows up. It might be Kenneth Walker as RB1, which would be kind of interesting. But if you're going to be a TOP squad, then the defensive side of the ball is going to have to show up every single Sunday. And Seattle's defense historically over the past couple of years has not been one of the better units in the NFL, which is why I think the strategy that we both are predicting Pete Carroll and that Seahawks brass is trying to undertake and adopt is not really going to work, especially when you reside in the toughest division in the NFL, or one of the toughest divisions in the NFL that also has to play the other toughest division in the league as well.
Yeah, I mean, the schedule, like, you're getting the entire AFC West. Like, you get Denver coming to town and Russell Wilson revenge game in week 1. You're at San Francisco. You should probably beat the Falcons at home. I don't think at Detroit is a guaranteed win.
Nope.
I mean, even if we want to be conservative and give it to them, so let's say they're 2-2 there. You lose at New Orleans, so you're 2-3. I'll give them a split against Arizona, so 3-3. Lose to the Chargers. I guess they could beat the Giants. That's 4. Lose the final 2 going into the bye. And so you got 4. So you can't give up 3 wins after the bye. They do get the Jets and Panthers at home. I mean, oh boy. Like, there's definitely a path to 6 wins, but everything's got to break right, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you gave him one more win than I did right before that Week 11 bye. I think I was nice and
lost to Detroit.
Yeah. That's true too. I gave them, in that second half of the stretch of the schedule, I gave them, I think, like a win in Carolina, maybe a win against New York, and maybe that's obviously being kind as well, because who knows what the Panthers are going to look like. But that's why I think best case scenario is really that 5-12 mark. And even if you get to 6, you're going to push there anyway.
Yeah, I think exactly. I think they're probably a 5-win team, and that's why the under is juice, right? Like, Vegas thinks the under is the play there as well, and so do we. I think Seattle under is probably one I'd bet. Like, if I had to pick my favorite 2 from this division, it'd be Seattle under and Rams over, I think.
100% on the same page with that.
All right, love it. That's the NFC South. Quick and dirty. Thanks for listening. Quick and dirty. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. For Dajani, I'm Brinson. We'll see you guys later.